start on time and hopefully we'll finish on time. So thanks for coming, and we will start with like why are we hosting this? I believe like many teachers and students in Hong Kong and Singapore probably already heard of Harvard Project Zero and the thinking routines, and we as me as founder of the organization as from Twin Oaks, we believe that learning is beyond the boundary of disciplines or subjects. Every like human beings are born to learn how to think and how to act. When you know how to think, you know how to make every decision in your life. And we hope this is a starting point for you to unlock your potential and really live a fulfilling life. So that's why Twin Oaks has been a big supporter for a project Harvard Project Zero and its thinking routine, starting from 2016 when we heard about this the theory, and we've been trying to incorporate this into all kinds of learning that we Asian students can adopt. And we are also trying to promote this idea to more people around the world because this is all free. And Harvard Project Zero has been published it online with full access, and it's all free of charge. So we do hope more students and educators will be able to use it. Why do we think this is important? Because we think observation brings a lot of inspiration and wisdom. We think what by learning how to think about what we see, you will be able to connect everything. So like pretty much like the introductory video, a lot of theory in the past has actually developed or start with a very simple observation. But nowadays, students feel that it seems very hard and difficult and impossible for us to invent a new theory or create anything new. This is probably not that difficult once we are more familiar with observation and how to make careful observation. We will be able to think of a lot of new things that we can create for the future. So this is why we would like to guide the student through this process. By going through the Seizing Wonder Challenge, you will be able to accumulate how to look closely and how to make an interpretation out of those observations. So let me quickly explain what is seizing wonder. So see means looking closely. A lot of time we intend to jump directly to the conclusion, and we completely shut down the possibility to really absorb everything we see in the world. What we hope to do in this challenge is to give everyone some time to really sit down and really think about what you actually see and put what you see into a very careful interpretation. So that's what we mean by think. So when you try to make interpretation about your observation, you might have a lot of aha moment and inspiration coming out from there. That's what we mean by wonder. It's the last step, last step. You can go beyond the surface based on your observation and your interpretation. You might think about a lot of implication you can use. You might be able to develop a new theory, a new hypothesis. You might also be possible to create new things. That is why we think seizing wonder is something worth spreading. So it sounds pretty vague. We wanted to start by some example. So let's see how many details you can actually see from this apple. So if you have some pens and papers at hand, I would like to invite you to spend a couple of, maybe like half minutes to write down something on the paper about what you actually see from this apple. And if you actually find a little bit difficult to really see something unique, you can start by the shape. What do you notice are some of the components on the apple? These are the things that you can start with. Okay, I'm going to wait everyone to just write down something, and we will continue shortly. And I highly encourage you to write it down. Although it seems super obvious, you probably have a lot of idea in mind, but putting it down on paper is actually very different. And this is also what we call in Harvard Graduate School of Education, we call it make your thinking visible. So a lot of time when you actually see your thinking, you'll come up with more idea and more inspiration out of it. So let me jump into what I have in mind. This is not a comprehensive list. You might have something that's beyond what I have written here, but I just want to name out a couple of detail that I see from this picture. Firstly, you can see a fresh leaf on top of the apple is a green leaf. So I was saying it's pretty fresh. And you can also see that this apple has a red skin. It has a couple of like yellow dot or yellow line around the surface, but generally you will say that the apple is the red color is pretty evenly distributed. And on top of the apple, you can also see some light and reflection on top right side of the apple. The shape is almost like a perfect sphere. You can see that it's pretty rounded. And what kind of interpretation can we make out from there? Firstly, you might find that these three feature have some common thing. So it both seems to be a feature that make an apple pretty attractive. So you might even go further and think about, okay, why is that? Is this apple chosen for a photo shooting? It could be. And this kind of thinking, like interpretation, making hypothesis, and even if you go down the way and validate your hypothesis, it's like a way to do detective work. So you see some small hint, but you actually get a lot of information out of it. So the more details you see, the more interpretation and idea you will have. And that's why we think the cultivation of careful observation is very meaningful and important. This is not something that you have to be great to start, but you really have to start to be great. This is something that takes a lot of practice and accumulation of experience. The more you do, the better you will be. And a lot of time, I know the schoolwork will talk about sustainable development goals. No matter you are teachers or students, a lot of people will talk about it, and we hope that a student can come up with more innovative idea out of it. But I think since this is such a big topic, a lot of time we still require like a very basic skill like seeing wonder. When you're more inclined to see some detail from the charts, from the news, from all the articles that you see, you might be able to make more interpretation out of it. And altogether, it become a more coherent story that you can write about for your research. So before we go into a big topic like climate change, I would like to do something that's more simple, which is this challenge. We break this challenge down into 3 rounds, and each is differ by its difficulties. The very first round, we want you to focus on practicing your observation skills. So you will look at a simple and one single object. For example, we have observed refrigerator in the past. We also observe a vending machine. So you will see a vending machine, for example, 100 years ago, a very old-fashioned one versus a more modern one. And you will try to observe what are the differences, why we human beings make those changes. Does it imply certain needs from the human beings or technology development? And what do you envision the new development will be in the next 100 years later? That's like a simple practice we would do in round one. And for all those people who want to advance to round two, basically it's very simple. You just have to finish every observation and make a careful detailed recording down about what you think. That's all about it. We do not limit how many people can advance to round two. So basically, anyone who finished round one will be able to advance to round two. And for the round two, the difficulty, raised a little bit. It's not just about a single object anymore. It will be a multiple given objects, but everything will be put online. So you won't see unlimited information. It's like a given information. But in the final round, which will be the corporate round, you will be able to go into a store. You might even be able to interact with people there. So you will see various objects, various information, a lot of things going on. But that's more like a reality when you really want to apply your Seizing Wonder challenge in real life. And each of those rounds will take different amount of time. So for round one, we will have the online website on for the whole day. You just have to come in and spend some time to finish it. And our estimated time is that it will take up 1 to 2 hours. For round two, the site will be open for 2 days. You can just find a time to come in and finish every task. That will also take up 1 to 3 hours. And for the final round, that is like a 3-day, 4-day hackathon type of corporate round. So that is something that you really have to fully participate. And only the top 45 members out of round two will be able to advance to the final round. Okay, let me quickly explain what it looked like. So for round one, like I said, it will be an online website. It will be all conducted online. You can either choose Chinese or English version to finish your task. I will assume that the task takes about 1 to 2 hours at most to finish. You can finish it at any time when the website is open. The application finished on February 25th. You will receive the website on March 8th. That's the time that you'll receive the website. And then the website will be fully open at the midnight of March 9th. And then for the following 24 hours, it will be all open until 11:59 around the midnight. We'll close it down. So anytime in between, you can just go on and finish the task. And basically, it's just pass or fail to join the round two. And the bar is actually it's more almost like a minimum requirement that we hope that everyone can finish the task on round one. If you really want to, get better, and you really want to know what do we mean by good performance, basically, the more you observe, the better. And one thing we wanted to remind you is that what we mean by observe is something that you can point with your finger. If you find that you couldn't point the thing that you describe on the photo, that probably means it's something that you assume it exists, but it may not be an actual fact. So we want you to also practice to distinguish what are the facts and information you get, what are the inferences that you have in your mind. A couple of reminders. So the best environment to do that, to do round one, is laptop or desktop. We do not recommend tablet or smartphone because the screen is just smaller. It won't be easier for you to do observation. We also highly encourage you to have a paper and pen to draft out your answers, or you can even open up a Google Doc or Word doc to type your answer there first and then copy paste and put it in the submission form. So like I said earlier, the link will be sent to you on March 8th, Friday at 6 p.m. When you receive the link, you won't be able to enter it. It will show as invalid, but it will start to be valid during the midnight of March 9th. If you have any question or technical issue, you can send us email during 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And we do not limit the number of qualifier to advance to round two. So anyone who finished round one will be able to advance to round two. So for round two, it's also an online platform. Again, it can choose either Chinese or English. It takes about 1 to 3 hours to complete. You can complete it anytime during that 48 hours. The evaluation is based on the quality of observation and thinking. So we will share more details about the rubrics that we have later. From this round, every participant can choose whether they want to advance to corporate round. So even if you choose that you do not want to go to the corporate round, which require you to be there physically for 3 days, even if you don't come for that 3 days, you will still get the certificate for the performance that you have over these 2 rounds. So don't feel too bad if you can't come for the corporate round. You will still be recognized for your participation and your performance. A few reminder, again, we highly recommend you to use desktop and laptop, no tablet or smartphone. The link was sent to you again one day before the final session, the session. You will receive it at 6 p.m. Again, the link will not be valid at that time, but it will start to open during the midnight of March 30th. Feel free to write us email if you have any questions. So again, the time will be 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So a very warm reminder, if you have any question, please do write us before 9 p.m. Okay, the final round, we also call it the corporate round. It will be held in Chinese, or Mandarin and Chinese. So all the written material that's provided from the corporate, or what the corporate will try to communicate with us, they will all be doing that in Mandarin. So basically, if you don't feel comfortable, or you find that it's impossible for you to communicate in Mandarin, corporate round is probably too difficult for you. But if you find it's easy for you to communicate in Chinese and Mandarin, yeah, you're all welcome to join corporate round. And in this round, different from the previous two, this one will be a team-based game. So every team will comprise of 3 team members. You will also get to visit local store for more data or observation. You will also do the Q&A with the corporate directly. You will create prototype and validate your hypothesis with potential users and present the final proposal to the corporate. In here, we will also evaluate the quality of your observation, thinking, and creativity. More detailed standard will be announced during the final round, so don't worry too much about it for now. What we want to remind you is this round is a round that you really have to be there on site physically for 3 days. The date is on April 19 to April 21. And it will be conducted and take place in Taipei City. We do require a full participation. So if you want to join the corporate round, you have to be there on April 19th. And all the accommodation and transportation, it should be arranged by the participants. If you are the student from Taiwan, you will also get a school exam sheet for your Friday class time. Okay, we talk about some rewards. So if you decided that you do not want to join the final round, but you will join round 1 and round 2, everyone will join that, which will get thinking certificates. You'll also get free trainings, no matter you get advanced to corporate round or not. We'll talk more about what those 3 trainings are, but basically everyone will get free trainings throughout this challenge. So from the round 2, we will have a detailed rubric and scoring for all the participants, and we will do a ranking for all the participants. If you rank top 100, you will get additional fully recognition, like additional recognition for your achievement, which is top 100 thinking routine, like thinking certificate for all the participants who rank top 100. You will also get professional photo shoot at the final on the last day of the final game. And if you are advanced to the final round, which means you are the top 45 students, the champion team will get 15,000 Taiwan dollar per team. The second place will get 9,000, third place 4,500, etc. So I'm just not going to name out all the numbers, but everyone will get some rewards. And also, you will get another certificate that's different from the others. You get top 5 thinking certificates. If you are a champion, it will also specifically name out your champion or runners-up, etc. Again, you also have some professional photo shoot during that time. You will get some Seizing Wonder souvenir and also some other souvenir coming from the corporate side. Okay, the 3 free trainings. So the very first one is to talk about how to do observation and make thoughtful interpretation. It will be hosted on February 24th, Saturday, 10 to 11 a.m. Taiwan, Singapore, Hong Kong time. The lecturer will be me, and I will conduct this training in English. Everyone who joined the game can join this challenge. Also include someone who didn't join the game, they can also join this challenge, join this training. But the following two, for example, like the one who would talk about how are you going to craft your idea into prototype and test the hypothesis, this will be conducted, this will only be open for the participants who join this game. So the second training and the third one talking about how are you going to present your idea, these will be only open to the challengers. And if you haven't registered for the first training, the top right is the QR code that you can scan it right now and then join. It's upcoming in next month. Okay, now I'm going to talk a little bit about the rubrics. So for round one, it's actually pretty straightforward. The picture you see is what we use for the very first year. This is the toaster 100 years ago, and this is toaster nowadays. Basically, we want you to take a careful observation to see what are the differences between the two. It's just pass or fail. We would like you to write down at least 3 observations. One reminder, observation means that's something that you can point out with your finger on the image. And we want you to make some interpretation based on your observation. This is very hypothetical, so it doesn't have to be something you 100% believe. It could be your wild guess, but based on your observation, why do you guess it that way? Try to make it clearly in your interpretation. Once you can finish that 3 observation and make a very clear detailed description about your interpretation, I think you will just pass round 1. So round 1 is like a warm-up round. It's pretty easy and simple, and just want to get your toe into the water. For round 2, this round you will see the same scenario in different country. For example, from the very first year, people will observe the vegetable area in the supermarket in US, in Finland, in Japan. Last year, they observed what the university student cafeteria looked like in US, in Finland, I forgot, sorry, in US, in European country, and also in Singapore. So these are the things that you will observe. So it's actually a fun run that you will see something globally. It's also very interesting to see the differences. What will you see? You will see some videos, some photos, and maybe some floor plan about what this place looked like. So this is where we have a more detailed rubrics. So we'll take into account for a more thorough and a solid, I would say, the indicator about your performance. So we want you to make some comprehensive observation. So your observation must come from something that you see. So it's not like completely wild, but it's coming from some source and fact-based information. And this information, ideally, the information you observe is highly related to the problems that you are solving, will be more valuable than a random observation. What does that mean? So in this round, say the one for the very first year, they are trying to make a lot of observation from different countries and come up with an optimal design for the supermarket that will be both sustainable, for example, energy efficient, reduce a lot of food waste, and also user-friendly and beautiful. So that's the problem set that you have in mind. When you do the observation, you do pay close attention to those things that you see might help you to achieve the ultimate design that you have in mind. So the more information, more observation you can make, the better. So abundant observation made is a good quality indicator. And especially if the observation that you have is often overlooked by other people, that means you are really unique in your observation skills. And second, for thinking, we want you to be most reasonable and also be a very critical thinker. So all your observation and the inferences should have a logical connection. And we want you to clearly indicate the connection between that. We also want to make sure we know that when you make inferences, you not only made it based on the observation, but also some of your common sense or the knowledge that you know that you generate your hypothesis out of it. But if you are doing so, we would like you to write down the detailed logic that you have, including what are the things that you saw, what are the things that you have in mind, and tell us how you draw to the conclusion from there. And critical verification is basically critical thinking. We want you, while you're making a bold assumption, we also want you to have a very critical eye on your own inferences and acknowledge any logical shortcomings that you might have, and also be able to know how to do some verification for those shortcomings. So you know how to verify your hypothesis. Basically, that's all about it for the critical verification. Last thing, we want you to start to think about creative idea for solution, for proposal, that sort of stuff. So this has to be very fact-based. You have to indicate what kind of observation, inferences, or hypothesis you make to come to a proposal or come to an idea that you propose. And also we want to make sure the idea that you share is very easy to comprehend. So don't worry about the word limits. Just try to articulate yourself as much as possible so that everyone understands where you're coming from and what you're trying to say. And this proposal, we also want you to account for a lot of dimensions. For example, what would the stakeholder think about it? And what are the potential benefit and potential challenge or potential investment of this? What would be the side effect of it? So try to think about this in a more practical way, not just propose something without thinking about who is going to use it, how much investment we are going to make. So we just want to make sure this proposal is very solid and also very logical and feasible. Okay, so about the certificate, we actually break them down into 3 levels. If you can successfully fulfill the basic requirement of all 4, you will get a gold certificate, a golden certificate. If you can fulfill the very first 2, and the last 2 was more like half of your arguments fulfill the requirement, but some of those are still not there yet, then you will get a silver certificate for your performance in the round 2. If you can only fulfill like good observation and good interpretation, but when it comes to critical thinking and fact-based idea, there's not much out there, then you will still get the bronze certificate as a recognition for your good observation and reasonable interpretation. And I think don't take it too personally. I would actually see this as a mark of how you can advance every year. So if you join and you only got bronze this year, you can still join next year and see if you advance to silver or gold. So this is just where to help you to see what other things out of Ceasing Wonder that you can actually practice. And if you really want to have some like a test, like a quick sense of how it works, and especially what we mean by the bronze, which means comprehensive observation and reasonable interpretation, you can join batch program. This is ongoing right now. Every month we collect ideas about what you see from these 2 fans, electric fans. What do you see from this old one versus the new one? What are the differences, and why do you think the people make such changes over the past 100 years? Every month we will select 3 best practice samples for people to refer to. You can also see who are the selected sample in the past. So this is where you can start to have a sense about how this works and where you stand. And we also want to point out a few examples. So for example, the first one, compared to the old ones, the new one has a remote control and the more control button. These are very obvious that you can point your with your fingers. So this definitely a statement that will pass. But the one at the bottom did not pass. So for the very first one, the old electric fan is more stable. this is like the inferences, the hypothesis that you made out of your observation, but you cannot 100% sure the O one is more stable based on the photo. And this statement is also something that you cannot point with your finger. So that is a statement that's not a real observation. The one at the bottom says the old style is fixed while the new one can rotate. Again, you can kind of see that the right hand side one can rotate based on some of the things that you see, but it's really hard to say that the left hand side is fixed with a static photo like this, unless this is a video. Otherwise, you can't really make inferences. You can't just say you observe the old one is fixed. So that's why the last one didn't pass. Okay, so now I think if I finish most of the key information, we will jump to the Q&A. Before we go to open the floor for everyone, if you have any question, you can scan the QR code at the right-hand side. We will host all the Q&As on the Slido, but I'm also going to just quickly answer the top 4 questions that you might have in mind. Firstly, only the round 1 and round 2 will be held in a bilingual setting, which means you can choose either English or Chinese. But for the corporate round, that will be held in Chinese and Mandarin. If you find that you don't want to join any pure Mandarin session, you are welcome to join only round 1 and round 2, and you can still get that certificate after round 2. You are not required to join the corporate round. The final round will be held in Taipei, and you have to arrange your own transportation and your own accommodation in Taipei. If you're from Hong Kong and Singapore, can you join the final remotely? Unfortunately, this is a game that everyone have to be there on site, so you cannot join that remotely. Okay, now we will jump to the Slido. Okay. Can I decide who to team up with in the final round? So no, basically in the final round, there will be 3 corporates. It's basically 7-Eleven, All Rights, and a very local sustainable milk provider. So these 3 firms, so everyone who advanced to the final round, you can choose your priority about which topic you want to go to. And those who choose the same topic, we will try to put you in the same team. So you don't get to decide who to team up with. May I know the ranking in round 2? So basically, you will know whether you are the top 100 or top 45, but you won't know the exact ranking. For example, you won't know if you are 43 and the other person is 44. That you would not know. You will only know if you are top 45 or top 100. So can I communicate in English during the final? So unfortunately, that is actually a round that will be held in Mandarin and Chinese. So including the corporate mentor, they will only be able to communicate in Chinese and Mandarin. So it's unlikely that you will communicate 100% in English in the final. Okay, when using C, we have to point it out. Does that mean we can interpret it with our prior knowledge? So yes, you can interpret it with prior knowledge. When you are answering the question, we actually separate them into C section versus think section. So when you're trying to make interpretation, try to make sure that you write your interpretation in the C section, sorry, think section, not in the C section. So what I mean about it is, for example, if you see an apple and you think that apple is used for the photo shooting, you won't write that photo shooting thing in what you see, but you can write that in what you think about this. If you are referring to the fan that we just show you, you can see that the new fan actually has a remote control, and you can say that the remote control is a remote control because that's based on your previous knowledge. That will count. So if that is what you mean by writing something based on your prior knowledge, that will be the things that you can write about. You don't have to argue that the square thing is not a remote control because that's very obvious. But for those things that are not obvious, we will see that as an interpretation rather than effects. Okay, is there any way for teachers to participate in the challenge? Yes, all the teachers are welcome to join round 1 and round 2, although you won't be able to rank among the students for the top 100. But if you are a teacher and if you want to know where you stand, what's your scoring and whether you hit golden, silver, or bronze, feel free to let us know. We're happy to provide that information to you. So all the teachers will be able to join round 1 and round 2. And we're also trying to make that website as something that teachers can use in your own classroom. So after the challenge, we'll also put all those material on the CC Wonder official website. All the teacher can go on there and download it, use it for your classroom. Can I get an English certificate? Yes. So for all the participants who join round 1 and round 2, you will get a bilingual certificate. So it will both be written in English and Chinese. May I join the final if I do not advance? Yes, you may. It's open for everyone to join, and you can listen to their presentation. There's also some exhibition over there and some activity booth that you can interact with people, do more Seizing Wonder. You can also know more about sustainability issue there. You will also have some lottery games, so anyone who didn't advance to the final can still join the final. Okay. So I'm just pausing here a little and see if anyone has more questions. Okay. All right. So if you have any questions after this session, feel free to write us email. We'll be happy to answer them. At the same time, we will have this whole thing recorded and we will send that to you after this session. So if you wanted to remind yourself about certain thing, you want to go back and you can totally see that there. We will also put this on the website. So if you want to come back and visit this video, you can do that anytime. Before we end the session, we would also like to make a final reminder. So let me pull out my slides again. So if you have some friends who interested to join this, but they haven't applied yet, feel free to invite them to join. If you're students, we want to register for yourself individually, the left-hand side QR code is for you. If you are a teacher, you wanted to register for your whole class, you can use the group registration form. That's easier for you to register multiple people at the same time. And the application deadline is on February 25th. And anyone can join for round 1 and round 2. It's just that the high school student, the only age group, will be able to advance to the final. And this is all free and nonprofit events. Me and Dr. Flossie Chua from Harvard Project Zero really hope that more students and teachers and all the educators will be able to get access to this useful information and help more students to become a creative and active thinker. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. We do hope this is a fruitful start. And you are also very welcome to join our first training. That's the time we'll talk more about how do you make careful observation, thoughtful interpretation, and how are you going to use it into a meaningful creation. So thank you everyone for coming today. I hope you have a great weekend and hope to see you soon in the Seizing Wonder Challenge.